Hello, welcome back to Design Student Savvy. My name is Jillian Lair, and today we're going to be continuing with our set of SketchUp tutorials that we've been working on to build our small house model by continuing with our interior doors. In our last tutorial, if you were following along, we created our exterior front door and its trim along with a doorknob component. We're going to be creating a copy of that door and using it as the basis for our hinged interior doors, which you can see right here. Before we do that, if you remember from the last tutorial when we created the front door, because our doors have a 1-inch frame all the way around, we need to increase the size of our openings by 1 inch in each dimension. So double click on your interior walls. Remember, you need to double click twice because there's a nested group. Click on the face of the wall just to make sure it's editable. And then we're going to use our push-pull tool to push the sides of the doors out 1 inch. You might need to orbit around so that you can see all of them. We're not using the move tool in this case like we did in the last tutorial because it's really tricky to get just the right things selected in this tight space. And then with the upper part, the header of the door, there we can use the move tool. So I'm just going to turn on X-ray so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to use the selection tool and just draw a box over the top of each opening and use my move tool to drag it upward 1 inch. So using the selection tool, I'm dragging a box from left to right over that face. So I just select that face and its edges. And I'm using the move tool and dragging it up on the blue axis 1 inch. Let me get my last one here. Might be, see, sometimes it's difficult to find a way that you can draw the box over just what you want to select. And there's that one. So now I have adjusted all of my door openings. And, you know, since we're going to be doing the bifold doors as well, just why don't you go ahead, let's take a minute right now and go ahead and increase the openings of all the other doors that get bifold doors. And you might as well do this pocket door too. Do that now and then we'll reconvene in a minute. Okay, now we're back and we have increased the openings of all our interior doors that are going to receive doors, not these just drywall openings. But all of our bifold doors and interior doors, we have increased them by 1 inch all the way around. So top and sides, so that they're ready to receive their doors. So we are going to start by modifying our exterior door component. And if you built this with us in the last tutorial, you know that we only put the panel and doorknob on one side. And so let's start by demonstrating how you can place an instance of a component and then edit it, and it will update all of the same exact component that are in your model. So in my components window over here, I'm going to click on my door 3068, which is my exterior door, and I'm going to place it. And then I'm going to zoom in on it, and I'm going to double click to open the component. And then I'm going to double click on the door panel itself. We're going to put a recessed panel on this side as well, so I want to start by increasing the thickness by another inch. And then I am going to offset that face. Can you see in the background how it's editing the other component simultaneously? I'm going to offset it by 6 inches. And then if you remember, we made the bottom reveal slightly taller, so I'm going to drag that up another 6 inches. And then I'm going to push that interior face back a 1/2 inch. And now we have our recessed panel. So just click outside of that one time to close that group. And we are going to place our doorknob. So orbit around your door until you can easily see the side that we're going to place the doorknob on. Activate your tape measure tool, and let's set a guide 36 inches off the floor and 3 inches in from the edge of the door. Then click on your doorknob component in the components list, and you can see the way it's oriented is actually opposite of the way that we want it to be oriented. If you hover over the back face of it, you should get a purple X that is indicating the center of that back plate. Click on it when you get that X, and you want to drag it over and align it with the intersection of those two guidelines. And then we can use our flip along tool and flip it, or we can use our rotate tool, which I think would be better in this case. So let's turn on X-ray, and we want to rotate on the blue plane. So get your blue circle, hold down the shift key to lock it, and then our first point is going to be that intersection. So we want to click on that, and then we're going to drag out. You might have to zoom out so you can get it perfectly aligned. You want to get it snapped to the green axis, okay? Or you can snap it to the red axis, but the point is to snap it perfectly in place. I think the green axis is better. So kind of hold it out till it's out on the green axis, and then start dragging it around, and you want to type in 180 degrees and hit enter. And then if you zoom back in on that, you will see that it is rotated around 180 degrees, but that it's now out of place again. So if you activate your move key again, you should be able to get that center point and line it back up. In another tutorial, we'll talk about different ways for mirroring. What we really want to do in this case is mirror it and not just flip along it, but this technique will do for right now. Now you can see, here's my exterior door that's in my house. You can see now there is a recessed panel there, and there's a doorknob on the other side as well. So we updated that one at the same exact time. And then just go ahead and delete those guides and turn off X-ray mode. Now, our interior door is actually 30 inches wide. So what we need to do is reduce the width of this door by 6 inches so that it will fit in our interior door openings. Before we do that, as you saw, if I edit this component, it edits all instances of that component in the model. So we're going to right click on it and say Make Unique. And if you look in your components list, there's now a copy of door 3068 called door 3068 #1 or #1. Rename that to door 2668, and that will represent our 30-inch interior door. Okay, so if you're familiar with AutoCAD, what we're going to be doing here is using the Move tool to approximate a stretch. And so first, let's double click on our door, our actual door panel, and then double click on it again so that you're actually editing it. I want you to drag your selection box over the left-hand side of that door, so that you're just selecting. If you were to turn on X-ray mode, you would see that all that's selected are the two vertical faces, the ones on the side of the panel, actually it's 3, and then the one that comprises the door thickness. And then you're going to click on your Move tool, and you're just going to move those over to the right 6 inches. And that's all you need to do. And then on your frame, it's the same exact principle. You are just going to move it over 6 inches. And now you have a 30-inch door. So super easy. You can do this over and over again. If you know you're going to be using different widths of doors, you can create all your doors at once and then just have them in your components library, and they're there when you need them. Okay, so now that we have our 30-inch wide door, let's go ahead and position it inside of our house. So just activate your Move tool, and let's pick this front top corner, And if you didn't know this, you can actually start moving something, and see how I can't see my bathroom door? You can activate Orbit and get it into the position you want, and then re-click on the move tool and you're still moving the object. So that's pretty handy sometimes. So I am just going to click that right into place, and we'll rotate around the other side. You can see that the hinge points on the 3D model are perfectly lined up with the little hinge point corner of the 2D symbol. So that's perfect. So now we need to place our door in the two openings left and right. So let's click on it in the components window again and place another instance. And I am going to position it, let's position it from the inside of the bedroom. So I'm going to do that trick with the Orbit tool again and rotate around, click back on my move tool, and I am going to click on this corner and align it with the corner where it will end up being. Actually, it's going to be that corner. Okay, so we need to rotate this 90 degrees counterclockwise so that it rotates right into place. And to do that, we're going to activate the rotate tool, and you want to be hovering over the plane on which you want to rotate. And I know that can sound a bit confusing. In this case, we want to rotate on the horizontal plane. And so we want the circle, the wheel on our rotate tool to be blue. If we are rotating vertically, we would want either the red or the green rotation wheel. But we want blue. And so once you see that blue wheel, you can hold down the shift key to lock it so that it won't change. And we are going to pick our first point of rotation, that end point, and then we're going to come out and we're going to click the other end of the door, and then we are going to drag it around, and you can either enter 90 degrees or you can just click it in place when it's in the right spot. And there you have it. Now we can orbit around to the other door and we can do the same exact thing. So let's see here. Let's just kind of pull this out. Now on this one, we want the doorknob to be on this side, and this is our interior. So first, let's go ahead and we're going to rotate it on our blue horizontal plane. We're going to rotate it 90 degrees again. And let's just move that into place. So I'm activating my move tool, and then I'm clicking the upper corner of the door frame and then clicking into place. But you can see this is going the wrong way. So let's try our flip along. And green was the wrong choice. So flip it back, flip it along the red axis, and now you can see our doorknob is in the right spot. So you can see how easy it was to just place that same component 3 times, and then let's say later on you decide that you want to change the doorknob or add some kind of other detail to your interior doors. All you have to do is edit it 1 time in one component and it will update all 3 doors, which is really handy. So now let's add trim to these doors. This will be a review of what we covered in our last tutorial, but I think it's worth just showing it again. So I'm going to use my guidelines to establish my 1/4 inch reveal on the frame. Remember, we're doing a 1/4 inch reveal on all our window and door frames, and we're doing a 3.5 inch casing. In the corner, it's going to be a little truncated there, but that's okay. This time, instead of tracing it with the line tool, I'm just going to draw rectangles from point to point to create the shape of the casing. And then I am going to just delete those 2 line segments where they intersect. And if I click on the face, there you can see it. And I'm going to just extrude that out 0.5 inches and turn it into a group. Now, if I click on my doors and I click on my entity info, you can see they're not on layer door yet. So let's hold down the shift key and select all 3 of those doors. and change them to the doors layer. And then let's make sure as we're drawing our trim that we're putting it on the trim layer. So you can go ahead and delete those guides. And just rotating over to this door on the left, we'll just create that trim as well. I'm going to do it the same exact way I did the other one. I think it helps to see things demonstrated multiple times in case you're having a question or you didn't quite catch it the first time. If I'm being repetitive, feel free to just fast forward 30 seconds or so, and we can move on to the next part. But I'm going to finish drawing all the trim on these 3 doors. Sometimes you have to zoom in really close, but you want to make sure you are being as accurate as possible. Make group. Don't forget to make groups. It's the biggest mistake I see my students make when they're first learning to use SketchUp. Even when they've been using it a while, they still forget to make groups, and then we'll try to change something in their model and it will be attached to everything else, and then it's impossible. We don't know where to start from. We start deleting things and faces disappear, and you just don't want to get in that situation. You don't want to put a lot of time and effort into your model and not group things or turn them into components and then find yourself in a tough spot when you want to make a change to something or you want to move something around. And I mean, we know how often that happens in interior design and architecture, making changes, so we want to be as flexible as possible, and groups and layers really help you do that. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm changing commands using the shortcuts on my keyboard instead of going up to the toolbars. You really want to start learning your shortcuts as soon as possible because it just increases the efficiency of your modeling so much. And let's not forget that we also need trim on the other side of the doors as well. Now, I'm not going to make you watch me do that again, so I'm just going to take a break here for a second, model that trim, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so now we're back, and I have drawn the trim on the inside of all 3 of those doors. So those doors are now complete. The next thing we're going to do is draw our bifold doors, and we don't have a component for those yet, but I'll just start by saying that when I designed this floor plan, I tried to make it as simple as possible. So all 4 of these door openings that show bifold doors are the same. So we're only going to make 1 component, and then we're going to copy it 3 times to create these 4 doors. And then there's this single bifold door here out in the entryway. So let's start by making our frame. I'm going to go a little bit more quickly here because this is a review of a technique that we've already covered. And our bifold door is going to be made up of 2 panels, and I'm not going to over model this by creating the gap between those 2 panels that you would see in your typical door. So let's just start by making our first panel, and we'll make a group of that, and then we will just copy and paste it. Oops. Make sure you hold your Option or your Alt key down to make a copy. And there's our bifold door, our single bifold door. It's too narrow to create the recessed panel effect in here. You could do a panel that has less of a reveal. So for instance, maybe a 3-inch reveal instead of a 6-inch. And I think you'd probably still want that bottom reveal to be 12 inches. So we would move that up 9 inches so that it aligned with the other doors, and then we could just push this in 1/2 inch. And since that wasn't a component, you can see it didn't update the other one, so I am just going to, actually let's make this into a component. So we're going to say make component, and where did that go? Here it is. It's called group 55. It did that because it was already grouped, but we can rename it and we can call it Bifold Door Panel, and it's 12 inches. And then we can just make a copy of that. Hold down your Option key or your Alt key over to the other side. There we go. And later what we might want to do is put a knob here, a smaller knob than our doorknob. We would put that here and use that to indicate the swing side for when the 2D plan is turned off. I'm not going to go into that right now. We can do that later. So let's just hold down our Shift key and select all 3 parts of that and just say make component, and we'll call this door Bifold. It's 24, actually it's 2068 because it's 2 feet wide. And we can set component axes maybe at that corner and create, and there we go. Now let's work with this doorway just because it's a little bit easier to see than the ones in the hallway. So we'll start by making our frame. Okay, now we have our frame. So our panels here are going to be 15 inches. So what can we do? We can take our bifold door panel that we made in the entryway, and as you know, we can rotate it. So we're just going to rotate it around 90 degrees, and I'm going to move it into place at the corner. And then remember what I need to do? I need to make it unique. Okay, and over here I'm going to rename it to Bifold Door Panel 15 because it's 15 inches wide. Okay, and then I can just make copies of it. So hold down your Option or your Alt key and just move it over next to each panel. Why didn't that fill the space? Oh, because we never resized it. Silly me. So double click. Now we need to make sure we only grab the right hand side. So that'll do. And nope, see, it won't do because we grabbed this down here. So let's make sure. This might be difficult. You really need to orbit till you get into place. Okay, so there we go. So move that over 3 inches to resize it. There we go. This is my 3rd tutorial I'm recording today, so bear with me. And we'll just make 3 copies of that. And like I said, we can go ahead and add the knobs later. We will just add them in the middle on this one. So, but for right now, let's select all 4 of those panels and the frame and make a component called Door Bifold, and it's 5 feet and 80 inches. And we'll set our component axes right here at the corner. All right. So we can go over here, and this one's very simple because it's oriented the same way. So you can just even click in the top corner of the one we just made and move it over to the hallway. And then when we are placing, let's see, here we are. When we're placing it on the other side, we can get it in place and then just say flip along red, not green. And there it is. And then we can just make a copy of this one and position it in the other bedroom. And there you have it. So we've got our 4 sets of double bifold doors now in position. So what's left, we just need to go ahead and add trim to all of these doors. So I'm going to do that offline, and then I'll come back and we can review what we've done today. So I've created the trim around this bifold door, and I thought it would just be helpful for you to see how you could easily copy this over to the other 3 doors. And I've already put it on the trim layer, so don't forget to be putting your trim on the trim layer. I am going to click on my move tool, and then I'm going to click an easy point. So I'm going to click, even though I've got the trim selected, I'm going to click that center point of the door panels, holding down my Option key, and I can zoom over to the other doors in the hallway and click on the same point, and it will snap it to the exact same place. So because those 2 door sets were identical and the trim was identical, I was able to use a relative point to place that. And now, for example, on this one, I can click on this edge, this little endpoint here of that trim, hold down, let me make sure I got it, hold down my Options key, make sure I'm on that red axis, and see if I drag it across, I'm on face and group, so that means I drew it perfectly straight across, and I can position that on the other hallway set of doors. And then same thing I did the first time, select that center point and snap it into the bedroom. So you can see how easy that was. I only had to draw that particular trim 1 time and then just copy it over 3 times. So there you have it. So if you haven't done so, make sure all of your doors are on the doors layer and all of your trim is on the trim layer before you go ahead and save your model. And in our next tutorial, we are going to finish up doors by talking about this pocket door right here and how we can model that. And that one, I think it might be interesting to show it half open. We can experiment with what that looks like. So stay tuned for next time. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. And it would be wonderful if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can be updated whenever a new tutorial is posted. And don't forget to head on over to designstudentsavvy.com, sign up for my newsletter. You can sign up to receive the tutorials, and you can also get a free ebook which compares SketchUp to Chief Architect to Revit, which are the 3 modeling programs that I know best. So thanks again, and I will see you next time.